The reception, which I was worried would be too crowded and bustling, ended early in a rather chilly atmosphere. Lizé seemed worried that I might be upset, but I was grateful. My dress was too low cut, and I had to keep my back straight all day, which made my spine ache like it was broken at every juncture. Not to mention my feet in high-heeled, uncomfortable shoes and my swollen calves. Just when I wanted to scream that this was torture, the maid, at the Duchess' request, escorted me to the bridal chamber. She helped me change my embarrassing and uncomfortable dress into a nightgown. I breathed a sigh of relief that I was still alive. After sending the maid away, Lizé came in and looked hesitant to say something. I pretended not to know. I didn't want to miss this opportunity to talk to the female lead, no matter how tired I was. Besides, one of the survival rules for a villainous possession story is to befriend a kind female lead. Laughing slyly to myself, I realized that Lizé was beautiful as she fidgeted with her hands, hesitating to open her mouth. Dressed in a simple yet classy ivory dress, she was even more dazzling than when I was covered in sparkling jewelry. She was more suited to the image of a chaste, shy bride, which was probably what the writer was going for. She apologized on Killian's behalf for his rudeness today, defended Killian that he was a very caring person, and asked me not to hate him. I remember this scene. In this scene from the original story, Lizé, who visits Edith after the wedding ceremony, talks to Edith first as she does not apologize for Killian's rude attitude. But Liz's apology makes Edith feel offended, because she couldn't blame Killian's cold attitude for venting her anger on Lizé. Edith explodes and screams in anger, because Lizé wore white dress at her wedding to Killian, and acts as if she knows everything about Killian in front of her. Honestly, as a reader, I know all the reasons why Lizé said that. But Edith, who had to listen to it without knowing what was going on, I think she had every right to be upset. But who am I? I'm just the one who read the whole book, not Edith, so I have no reason to be angry with her. I tried to sound harmless to Lizé. When I said that I understood Killian's rude behavior because he was forced into a marriage that he didn't want to be in, and I didn't hate him, he is my husband now. I knew she would soon meet Killian and tell him my story. Looks like it worked, and Lizzie's face lit up. She answered with a smile and praised my calmness. Wow, how can she be this beautiful with this pretty attitude? How could I hate a girl as cute as her? I wish I could bite down on those plump cheeks and munch on them. And I returned the compliment by praising her sweet behavior and the white dress she wore, which looked perfect on Lizé. Not long after that, she said goodbye, when the maid knocked on the door to bring in the bath. The blush on her cheeks was cute. I'm sure it's embarrassing to think about Killian's first night, after being like brother and sister for 5 years. But don't worry, Lizé, it's not going to happen. I waved to Lizé as she walked away, and I was finally left alone in the silence. Flopping down on the bed, I sighed and threw off the nightgown the maid had painstakingly put on me, and soaked in the bathtub, on the far side of the room, behind the curtain. The bathtub was set aside for the couple to wash themselves, after finishing their first night. It was a little hot, but it was the right temperature for me, who loved going to the sauna in my previous life. As I soaked in the hot water, the aches and pains in my body seemed to slowly dissipate. As annoying as Count Riegelhoff was, and as cold as Killian was, this possession was a blessing in disguise. It's an inconvenient world without smartphones and the internet, but I have luxuries and things like books, operas, hunting tournaments, picnics, parties, and balls that I never imagined when I was so soon. I don't have to go to work. I'm free from housework. I don't have to worry about the balance in my bank account. And I don't have to worry about my brother threatening me for money. I have the confidence to live quietly and enjoy my life in the Ludwig family without disturbing everyone here. But Count Riegelhoff is a different matter. Even if I live quietly, but he keep behaving according to the original story, I will be accused of being a spy for my family and my head will be cut off. Duke Ludwig suspected Count Riegelhoff of being in league with Archduke Langston, who coveted the emperor's throne. And then Count Riegelhoff offered a marriage alliance to prove his innocence. It was rumored that Count Riegelhoff favored his daughter, Edith. So this was a hostage situation. Kilian was understandably reluctant, but Duke Ludwig, who had to hold Count Riegelhoff's leash for the time being, persuaded him. This is where Kilian's heartbreaking narrative of falling in love with lies begins. I remember the episode where Kilian, locked in a dark room, said that he always belonged to Lizé even if he was another woman's husband. He said with one hot tear running down his cheek, "I can't let this ship sail. The writer wants to toy with the readers, Lizé wants to start a harem," and all sorts of other silly comments fill the comment section. In the end, Kilian had no choice but to abide by the decision of his father, the Duke. The good of the family was more important. Along the way, the machinations of Cliff, the male lead, may have intervened. On the surface, it would seem that Kilian would be more obsessed with Lizé, but in reality, the seemingly gentle Cliff was far more insane. Maybe that's why Kilian was eliminated early in the story, before things got too serious. Pushing the complicated thoughts aside for tomorrow and relax. I'd been on edge all week since I possessed Edith, and now I'm tired. Drowsiness poured over me as I relaxed, so I laid my head in the bathtub and dozed off. As a result, I didn't hear someone open the door and walked in. I was startled by the sudden sound of a man's voice, which hurriedly covered my chest. It was Kilian. Why did he come here? Kilian's brow creased, not sure if he was offended by being called by his first name, or if he just hated everything about Edith. In the original story, there is a scene where Kilian and Lizé have a conversation around this time. When she tells him to be nice to Edith, Kilian grabs her wrists and asks her if she means it, looks at her with desperation in his eyes, and is about to kiss her before Cliff arrives and interrupts. In the end, Kilian leaves Lizé with Cliff and retreats to his room to drown his sorrows in alcohol. If he does that in the original story, doesn't that mean he doesn't enter the bridal chamber? Kilian snorted at my answer and stiffened at my answer. He was not expecting to be attacked, reminding him of what he did at the wedding. But I didn't expect him to feel sorry for me at all. To him, Edith Riegelhoff was nothing more than the daughter of a cunning count, and the cause of his love's frustration. As expected, he retorted with disdain, like I wanted a passionate courtship with him. Rationally, I should be angry too. But right now, I was just bothered by everything, sleepy, and realizing that my life depended on not being hated by Kilian. Also, it was physiologically impossible to be angry at that face of his. I said it in the softest voice I could muster, trying to explain the situation here, but I don't know how it sounded to him. As if I was curious, I asked Kilian if he wanted to spend the night in this room. He glared at me in displeasure, then turned and walked away without answering. Why did he bother to come all the way here? Has there been any changes to the original story? Or is it still the same? But I don't have the energy to think about it right now. I got out of the half-cooled bathtub and dried myself off. Tonight, I'm going to sleep soundly in that fluffy bed. No more worries.